Good evening and welcome to Sunday Live. My name is Emma and I am your host this evening. It is August here on the Isle of Man, which means we are very much in our summer holidays, which also means we are very much in Beach Mission. Beach Mission is an opportunity for children of all ages to join activities to hear the good news of Jesus and learn more about him in a fun and interactive way on the beach in Port St. Mary. For us and the spectacular team that sit behind the scenes on Sunday Live, this means we are in fact not live at this very moment. We pre-recorded this at an earlier date because many of my team serve on team in Beach Mission, and we want to make sure that they are freed up to do that. So recording live is more complicated for us. So we do come to you pre-recorded. This means that we don't have the opportunity for you to join us by chatting on the YouTube chat or by texting in, but being pre-recorded doesn't mean that our content is any different. And I can assure you, we are in for a great discussion this evening. Last month, I had Roz join me at the table to round up the series I was doing of God in Hard Places. And she loved it so much that she came back for month 2 and doing a double whammy. But this time, we're going to talk about all things Japan. So joining me at the table this evening, once again, is Roz.
Hello.
Excellent. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Excellent. So just in case people didn't join us last month and have no idea who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive in.
Yeah, so I'm Roz. I have just spent 4 years living and working in Japan with OMF International, which is Overseas Missionary Fellowship. So I'm a missionary. My job is basically to tell people about Jesus. Yeah.
Woohoo. Woohoo. Good. And you are back on island?
Yes. Yeah, I'm back on island for about a year. So I arrived back at the end of April, and I'll be here probably till mid-April next year. And in the meantime, I'm connecting again with my family, with friends, with people who've supported me, which includes Broadway Baptist and other churches as well in the UK. So that's where I'm at.
Wonderful. And so after spending 4 years serving as a missionary in Japan, that's what we're going to chat about tonight. Yeah. We're going to talk about all things Japan, life in Japan, what you were doing, what God was doing in Japan, and just kind of get, I guess, drawing a picture of what your life was like, roughly, over the last 4 years. So I feel like we need to maybe set a little bit of a foundational point. Why did God send you to Japan?
Yeah.
Why? Tell us, how did all of that come about? Yeah,
that's a really good question. I sometimes also ask, why me? It's for those of you who tuned in last time, you might have heard me share about how I was really interested in Japan before I gave my life to Christ. So I got really into manga, which is comic books, and anime, which are the animations, and had a real fascination for the culture. And when I became a Christian, I got interested in this idea of missions and what did it mean to serve God, to share about Jesus and the love he has for us to the point that he died for us. A friend of mine suggested I put those two things together, and actually this interest in Japan went from just a cultural interest to, okay, so why do they need missionaries in Japan? And I think when we think about missionaries, the kind of stereotypical answer is, or the stereotypical things that come to mind are, places that need food aid or poverty-stricken countries. And Japan is not like that. It's relatively wealthy. Pretty technologically advanced as far as we know, if you've seen random videos on the internet of different robots and things. So, why do they need missionaries in Japan? And the actual answer to that is so few people have heard about Jesus. People don't know about the Bible. They don't know about Christianity. And the actual numbers are really interesting if you look into them. And that's kind of one of the things that stirred my heart was, less than 1% of the population are Christian. And of that 1%, only 0.6 of that 1% is evangelical Christians. So that's Christians who are living out their Christian faith, who are doing church on the weekly basis, who are happy and willing to share their faith with other people. And of that 0.6, only half of those are actually Japanese citizens. Wow. So half of those are internationals who've moved to Japan for various reasons, including missionaries. So that figure is actually, only a third of the Christians in Japan are actually Japanese. And if you consider then the population of Japan, which is about 127 million.
Which is an insanely high number.
Yeah.
127 million, that's
huge number of people.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 0.3%.
Yeah, are Japanese
Christians.
Bible-believing, living out Christians. Yeah.
I don't even know what number that is out of 100.
I'm not going to do the maths because I suck at maths. So. But you can work out that it's a really small percentage anyway.
Yeah.
And if you think of the percentage of Christians or churchgoers in the UK comparatively, and there's half as many people in the UK. So, yeah.
Wow. So so for you, it was really driven by interest.
Yeah.
And then by looking at the state of Christianity and the Christian faith within Japan, that was the driving force. And then God said, go.
Yeah, it took a bit longer than that. But that started an interest in Japan. So I went on a short-term, what we call a short-term mission. So I went to Japan for 6 months. I did childcare for missionaries who were studying at a language school in a place called Sapporo. And that was a really great experience, and I learned a lot about the culture and the people then. And I really felt like I wanted to go back, but the language was a big barrier for me because it felt like everybody else knew the language and could actually share the gospel about Jesus, whereas I was looking after children, which was great and really wonderful.
Yeah.
But I felt pretty useless at the time. And it took several years after coming back and doing Christian Union at university, where you can speak in English and it's super easy to share the gospel in English when you compare it with trying to do it in another language.
Yeah.
And it took a good few years before I was willing to listen to God and go back. And when I say listen to God, I guess it's depending on your own experiences what that means. Reading about different things in the Bible, including Abraham being told that through him all nations would be blessed. There's so many Psalms that talk about all the nations coming before Jesus, and there's a picture in Revelation 7 of people from every tribe, tongue, and nation bowing before the throne of God and rejoicing and praying. And those images just reaffirmed, like somebody needs to reach the Japanese because they don't know about him yet. It was a combination of things, and I do believe that God was using those things to stir my heart to get me going.
Great. Yeah. So, but ultimately it comes down to like those natural interests that you had that I would say God placed inside you as a God created being. Yeah. And then he very much used them. So even at the root of all of that is actually just the obedience that God said, this is where I want you to go. So you went, and even if that gap was a really long time, for lots of different reasons, actually, God said. And that's, I guess, why you ended up in Japan, because God said, go. Yep. Good. I'm glad we summarized that. Okay, so my understanding, or no, not even my understanding, my knowledge of what life in Japan is like is, let's face it, from a movie or a TV show. Okay. Because I have never been to Japan, although that would be quite cool. So what is life like in Japan? Like, what is it really like, I guess, for you, you being a Westerner as well? But tell us what life is like in Japan.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't honestly. It's really hard to work out where to start because it's such a barrage of contradictions in itself. So it's really easy to live in Japan, like to get things that you need. Like it's a convenience culture. They have hundreds of thousands of convenience stores that are open 24/7. It's really easy to pop in and get what you need. Shops are open really late. If you're living in a city particularly, it's just super easy to get everyday things. It's super easy to find stuff. But at the same time, the contradiction of that is actually sometimes it's really difficult, and things that would be really straightforward, perhaps on the Isle of Man or in the UK, are sort of brought down by this sort of bureaucracy. So, for example, everything has to be done through the city office. Everything from your visas to your changing address or moving into a new place, your car insurance and registering a car. It all has to be done in the office, and you have to wait 3 hours, and you have to go to the next desk, and you have to get the ticket, and things that I feel like were maybe the way things were done here in the 70s. It's still very much like that in Japan. So it's such a contradiction, and obviously people will have heard about how technologically advanced Japan are, and there's cat machines that deliver the food to your table at restaurants, and this is true, and there are so many places that you can see that and experience that. And yet the other side of it is, you still have to call up to talk about your phone bill and speak to someone on the phone, or go down in person because they don't have live chat on the internet, or they won't accept emails or things like that. So it's really a weird contradiction.
That is a really weird contradiction. And then I think about us here, specifically on the Isle of Man, where some people would say we lag a little bit with how things work. And it's really interesting because as you were talking, I was thinking about how here you can have Amazon Prime, but that doesn't mean same day delivery because there's a boat.
Yes.
Potentially, maybe, if it goes. But like in the UK, you can have like same day delivery on Amazon Prime. And so you've got that really instant living, and here we can do our taxes online. Yeah. And you can do all of that. And in this very technology advanced country, you have to go queue to do it. It's really interesting, isn't it? About how absolutely. On one hand, really advanced, and then on the other hand, not progressive at all.
Yeah.
Well,
which is sometimes really endearing, sometimes really frustrating.
I can imagine. Okay, what else is Japan like? Living in Japan, what else is it like?
I mean, there's so many things that I could talk about. I mean, the food is excellent. Highly recommend. Even the raw fish you get used to and start to really like. So.
What's the? I was going to say weirdest, but that sounds really negative towards Japan. But like, what's the strangest or least Western thing you've eaten and enjoyed?
Okay, so when I say eel, exactly.
Eating an eel.
People think of like, Brighton jellied eels kind of thing. That's what comes to mind, right? But eel, if it's grilled, if it's seasoned nicely, and it's on a bit of sushi rice, delicious, absolutely delicious. It's just a really flaky, flavorful fish.
But flaky fish?
Yeah.
I don't understand. What do you mean, flaky fish?
It's like,
Fish are like slimy and wet.
No, but when you grill, when you have like fish and chips, like the fish in the middle is like, it comes off in flakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm not rushing to eat an eel somehow on some sushi rice, but maybe one day. Okay, anything else about Japan? Then?
Yeah, I mean, there's some cultural things that I think are very strange, or were very strange to me as a Brit going abroad. And a really good example of that. So there's, okay, let's say I've got two. So one would be, for example, like something called a genkan, which is an entryway. And the idea is you take your shoes off in the entryway before you go into someone's house or anything like that. So there's no shoes in the house because they're considered dirty.
Which some people are like, yes, finally, because
exactly.
they are not shoes in the house people. Yeah.
And that's, that's quite easy to get used to until you go out in sandals one day and then you realize you're going into someone's house and you don't have socks with you, and it's a bit weird to just go barefoot around somebody else's house. So there's like learning curves to it and things like that. But then there's really countercultural things like onsen. Have you heard of onsen before?
No,
okay.
Of course I haven't.
Onsen is essentially a hot spring.
Okay.
And there's hot springs all over Japan, and these are really valued by people as a way to unwind and relax.
Okay.
But the thing is, you go into it naked. So obviously they're split by sex, but when I went short term, I did not go to onsen because it freaked me out, the idea of it.
I can see why.
Yeah, but I think in my first week of going back 4 years ago, there were a group of ladies who were going together, and they're like, you should come with us. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be brave and go. And everything in me that is British, I guess. Western, I'm not sure. I mean, there's definitely parts of Europe that sauna is fine.
Yeah.
But everything in me was just like, I can't do this. I can't go in there. And
I feel really uncomfortable for you.
But yeah, it's so alien, I guess, to the way I've been brought up and the way people think. And, even most of our swimming pools have individual cubicles for people to get changed in.
Yeah.
Like, this is just, you just have to strip off and go in. But the thing is, again, there's other layers to the cultural, because it's a shared, hot spring pool, you obviously have to properly wash before you go in and make sure there's no soap suds or anything on you afterwards. And then you get in, and it's especially in the winter, it's wonderful because you're in this beautiful hot spring bath. And you're outside, and maybe it's snowing, and there's beautiful trees planted around you.
You do this outside?
Yeah.
How British am I? My word.
But yeah, there's some really, really odd things about Japan that actually, that's one of my favorite things to do. When I've had a busy or stressful week, especially in the winter, I'm like, I'm going to go to onsen now, and I'm going to chill out, and it's going to be wonderful. And you just I don't think about it anymore. It doesn't feel weird anymore.
Oh, wow.
But it did to start with.
Huh? Good. Well, I feel like if you never knew what Japan was like, this is a real insight.
It is, yeah.
Wow. And hot springs. Mm-hmm. There we go. Should we move on?
Yeah.
I don't know where you go from to hot springs. Okay, anyway, right. So you've been there for 4 years, and I am sure that God has done plenty within that time. So how have you seen God? That was a very fluid segue, wasn't it? How have you seen God at work throughout your time in Japan? What does that look like? Any stories to share or to tell?
Yeah, I think it's really important to start this conversation off with. I'm sure it's very much the case in different mission fields, but particularly in Japan, you're not always going to have those wow, incredible, miraculous God moments that maybe people associate with mission life. And maybe if you've heard other missionaries talk and you've heard those stories, that's wonderful and it's great. Yeah. But it's not always the case. I don't have any. I was praying in the street and somebody came up to me and said, God told me to talk to this white girl with glasses and now I'm a Christian, woo! I don't have any of those stories.
Although how incredible would that be?
That would be awesome. And I'm sure it's happened. But that's not my experience. I can only say, God is in control and his power and his might have shown themselves in different circumstances. But with the Japan field and living in Japan, there's a lot of suspicion around different religious organizations. There's a lot of different things going on. So one particular story that I would like to share, I'm not going to say this girl's name, so please excuse me while I keep referring to her. But my colleague and I were working in student ministry, and we were meeting up with different students who had an interest in learning English or reading the Bible. And there was this girl who got very interested, and she would meet with us on a weekly basis at an international cafe. And she also would come and meet us on a Friday evening to do a Bible study. And she was really invested, really interested. And this was kind of from September time through to December. Consistently, we were meeting up with her. And then it came to New Year's, and she went home for the New Year's holiday, and we just didn't hear from her. Complete blackout, no messages, anything. And yeah, we got very worried about her. We weren't sure because there is this suspicion. I mean, there's a lot of cults working in Japan, whether it's Shinto or Buddhist cults, or whether it's things like the Jehovah's Witnesses or Latter-day Saints or whatever. There are a lot of people that target students. So we're not sure whether she was approached by a family member who said, "Oh, you don't want to meet up with Christians because they're gonna, mess you up or mislead you, or they're out after your money," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we don't know whether she was kind of warned off and told not to contact us again by a family member, or whether she just felt overwhelmed and stepped back, or anything like that.
Yeah.
We don't know her story, but I do know that we prayed for her consistently, and we just had to put her in God's hands because we didn't know what had happened to her.
Yeah.
And we were praying that nothing really bad had happened and we hadn't just lost contact with her because she'd been injured or whatever, anything worse than that. We just had to trust that, God is going to do his work in his time. And if that's not with us, then we have to be able to give that over to him. If that's not through us, sorry, just to clarify that. And the next time we heard of her was several months later, and she'd made contact with KGK, which is the equivalent of UCCF, or the Christian unions at universities. So she'd got in touch with a KGK leader and group, so Christian Union group at another university.
Oh, wow.
So she'd reached out, and she'd been doing sessions with them and been getting involved with them. So we don't know whether she'd been told, you can't talk to these Christians again, and she worked her way around that and found somebody else to learn the Bible with, or whether she had some time out because it was too much, or she decided she wasn't interested and didn't want to insult us. But the fact that she got back in touch with Christians and she continued to be discipled, like, God was so at work in that time to go from completely no contact to seeing, okay, there's people who are supporting her, even if it's not us. God is working. And that was really, really encouraging for us to see that she had that support network.
It's kind of you never underestimate the power of a planted seed, as
absolutely.
we would say as Christians, isn't it? That idea of actually you've shared the gospel with her, you've read the Bible with her, like all of those things, and never underestimate, I think, sometimes how deep that goes, even if we don't see the outcome or never fully understand what that looks like for an individual. Those things, I think, seep deep into people, isn't it? And I think we can never underestimate the power behind that as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm just wondering then, on kind of, you were saying about there being a lot of suspicion around Christians, but because there are cults and other things that go on in Japan, is it quite a hostile environment for Christians, or is it just actually people are cautious?
I think it depends.
Okay.
This is going to get deep very quickly, but we'll move on. So, for example, the assassination of the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was by somebody who his mother had given all of their family savings and things to a Korean Christian cult, and he was very angry with Abe's connections to that organization. So that kind of sparked up a new sort of wave of suspicion. So I think it's very much on people's minds. Even a lot of churches, and even the things that we were producing, if we had a flyer about something that was Christian, we would have to put not associated with this specific church.
Okay.
So there is a lot of suspicion, and if people see that, they go, "Oh, okay, so it's not them."
Wow.
So there's definitely suspicion. Most university students are warned in their first year. There will be people campaigning around the campus, just be very wary. But we were really fortunate in that we had, particularly from my colleague who had been working in this area of Japan called Sendai for a good number of years, she'd built up relationships with the different universities and the staff members. And a lot of the universities that we had access to were actually founded by Christians. So they were quite keen to have that link and that history maintained. So we were very fortunate that God provided a way in for us.
Yeah.
And we were also very careful and very aware that we want to make sure people know that these are things that we want to share with them. But if it's coming to faith or becoming a Christian, this has to be their decision, and it has to be led by them if they want to study the Bible, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So that's quite an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then for you to be a missionary, but also just a Christian as well in Japan. Any other stories of when God is at work, or any other things that you're like, hey, this is what God did?
Yeah, I think one really important story for me, particularly showing God working in my weakness. When I started to work in student work, my language ability was very poor. I mean, I could understand and I could ask pre-prepared questions in an international cafe setting, but I'd really struggle to understand replies. So I was very heavily relying on my colleague who'd been there for many more years than I had. And there was one day where one of the lecturers at the university had asked her to go and support them with some English in their lecture. So she went, and I was left on my own to do International Cafe. And in my sin and to my shame, I was literally praying, God, please let it be a quiet one. I don't want to have to talk to people today. I can't do it on my own. And that happened to be the day that we had 10 young men show up. So, I mean, I literally prayed for nothing, but God knew that those 10 young men needed to hear the gospel that day. And it was his initiative, not mine. And he brought those 10 young men, several of whom came back.
Wow.
Over coming weeks. And you know, I was very, very blessed that in the moment, when I did panic, you know, God really calmed my heart. I had a deck of cards with me as well. So we started off with a game that was really simple, and then went into the questions. And as those were being asked and we started kind of talking about more biblical topics, that's when my colleague came back and was able to support with that conversation. So God really showed me that he would show up no matter what happened, whether I was faithful or not. So God's faithfulness has been really paramount and key. Despite all of my weakness and all of my worries, God has been really, really faithful throughout. And another example of that has been in the Christians that I've met in Japan as well, who I think because it's a really difficult environment, they are so joyful when they meet missionaries. And that's such a blessing, because if you've come across the world and you're feeling a bit rubbish about, I can't do the language or anything, and yet you go into a church and people are like, we're so thankful for you being here because we know it's a really tough place to share the gospel. It's a real blessing. It's a real blessing to have people say thank you for coming, because I don't think you'd get that in many places. And there's one young lady who went to the church that I've been attending for the last 2 years in Sendai. Just 20, she turned 20 while I was there. And it was very much on her heart to support missionaries who came to Sendai. And she would, if there was a group of missionaries, she'd go and live with them for a week and speak to them only in Japanese to help them acclimatize to the Japanese language, and she'd do little culture things with them. And she then had this heart to go and teach in Taiwan for a year, teaching English and also getting used to being in a different culture. And she told me that the reason for doing that was because she wanted to know what it felt like for missionaries to struggle in a different culture.
Whoa.
Which is amazing. This is a 20-year-old who already has this massive heart for supporting missionaries.
So it uprooted her life
Yeah.
so that she could experience what you experienced
Yeah.
when you arrived in Japan.
Yeah, amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
Because she saw it as part of what God was teaching her to do and leading her to do was to support missionaries.
Wow.
And I'm blown away by this girl, and
That's really humbling.
it's incredibly
humbling, isn't
humbling because, you know, all the preparation and training and everything that I went through to go to Japan, and she's like, I'm going to go here and learn how to do this because God wants me to support missionaries. Incredible.
Yeah,
And
wow.
and further to that, I happened to meet her not long before she left for Taiwan, and we were both on the same train going to completely different places, obviously in the same direction. But she had her Bible with her, and she brought it out and said, "Oh, I'm thinking about having this passage as my passage to look at when I'm discouraged, and to have as my sort of God thing when I go away." And the Bible passage that she'd chosen was 2 Chronicles 20, and it talks about King Jehoshaphat and God defeating an army ahead of him, and there's a line that says, "The battle is not yours, but God's." And I almost burst into tears when she showed me this, because that was the verse that I believe God led me to on my first mission trip in my short term. And the fact that this was the verse that she had chosen as well for her first mission trip, like, I totally believe that God was in that moment for us to share that together. And yeah, his faithfulness just keeps cropping up again and again. It's been really, really incredible.
Wow. I mean, like, as you kind of started this particular question at that, there's no big firework God moment, but just the consistency in which God chooses to show up. And I think that's really, really powerful, because he does consistently, faithfully show up in our lives. And even when we've missed it, and it's only in hindsight that we can see God showing up, isn't it? But just a testament to who he is, that actually he's not even going to leave you hanging, not when 10 young men need to hear about Jesus, right?
Exactly.
It's really incredible, because it's the long game, right? The patient, slow drip feeding, I guess, of the gospel message. Would you say that's kind of how your role has kind of played out?
Yeah, I think so. I think as well, it's trust building in Japan is a really important aspect of culture. So if you're going to get to know people, if you're going to share something really important from your life, in my case, obviously it is sharing about Jesus and Christianity, then you need to really invest in other people as well. And that's true across the board anyway, but particularly in Japan, you need to invest in that time. And that, obviously, I've been there for 4 years, but 4 years for Japan time is not long. So yeah, it needs to be long term. It needs to be a long investment to really get to know people and to really be able to share.
Which I think is probably a really nice segue in, are you planning on going back, and what needs to be in place for you to go back? So are you?
Yes, God willing, I will be going back next year around April time. Yeah.
And what needs to happen in order for that, for you to go back? What needs to be in place?
Yeah. So OMF, the organization that I go with, they have their checklist. So obviously there'll be health checks and things like that, but also having people who are going to pray for me regularly.
Yeah.
I cannot understate how important it is to have people praying for myself, for the work, for the Japanese people that I meet, and for God to be at work. I am so grateful for the many people who have supported me through prayer, and to know that people are supporting me through prayer. Sometimes that's what gets me through a day that's really tough. So, yeah, prayer support is massive. But also, there's a financial need as well that has to be met.
Yeah. So I know and fully believe, like you do, in God's provision.
Yeah.
That actually you went out for the first 4 years because God enabled that to happen through all of the checks that you had to go through, all of the study you had to go through before you even landed in Japan, right? Like there were so many hoops, really, for you to jump through. And there is no intention, and it's not your heart to ask for money ever, really, because it's a really private, individualistic thing. But I'm going to ask you, so it does cost in order to send you back. Yeah. What is the ballpark figure that you need in order for you to return in April? Yeah,
so... Sorry, it is a little bit awkward to talk about this, isn't it? So for a year, we're looking at about 40 grand.
Okay.
And my hope is to go back for another 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is in God's provision.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I know from all the conversations we've had, that you wholeheartedly believe that if this is where God wants you, then it comes.
Yeah.
Then it comes.
Absolutely.
The money comes. The prayer is sent before you. The ground is prepared. Like everything that needs to come, God will provide. But sometimes it is good to just name it, right?
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
just name it. But I also know that actually you would say the most vital part is for people to pray for you.
Yes.
So it's not even the money side of it, although there's an importance in that.
Yeah.
Like in all of the conversations we've had, and even as you've kind of commented this evening, it is just knowing that when you go, you are completely covered in prayer. Isn't it? That there's a verse in the Bible, it's in the Gospels, when the angel Gabriel comes and is telling Mary that she is going to be pregnant with Jesus, and she asks God to overshadow her so that it is him, not her, that gets through 9 months of pregnancy and then raising the Son of God as her child, like that really big thing. And I think that's really your heart, isn't it? That actually God overshadows you. The prayers of his people who send you are the vital heartbeat behind what you do. Which means, what are you going to be returning to? So when you go in April, where are you going? What are you doing? What's the plan?
Yeah. So I will be returning to Sendai, so the same city that I've been based in the last 2 years. I will be going back to the same church that I've been serving in. So I won't be doing student work as in at the universities, but I will be with this church called Emmanuel Church Sendai. I'll be supporting them in whatever ways they ask, basically. So everything from children's ministries through to supporting the pastor and his wife, who's also ordained, in paperwork and things like that. So across the board, really, and working with the student age group there as well. So if it's all right, I'll just share a little bit about Emmanuel Church.
Go for it.
So they're currently in a building which is a relatively small apartment from our perspective, upstairs where the pastor and his family live, and then on the downstairs is the area that the church meet. So there's about 50 members, as well as other people who attend services regularly, but there's actually a rota for who can attend because not everybody fits in the room. So some people join on Zoom, and it's kind of on a rotation. But they just before I joined, they purchased the patch of land next to this building, and they're currently in the process of building a new church so that they can all fit in together. Hey. So that opens up a load of opportunities for them. So they'll have a bigger space to do kids ministry. They'll have space to sit together and worship as a group. But also because they'll have a space for Sunday morning services and worship, but they'll also have a downstairs space to eat together and to do things. They are really keen on reaching out to the community, and they already do a lot of outreach into the community as well. So it's going to enable them to do so much more, and it's really exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah, to have been placed with that church in the first place, who are clearly so keen about reaching people and growing and diversifying all of the things that they do, for you to be heading back knowing that they're on this trajectory of a new building and actually worshiping together, like it feels like a really exciting and pivotal point for them as a church, and you're going to get to step back into all of that stuff. So it sounds like a really, really exciting time to be heading back. So we've been talking about you being a missionary in Japan. But if a non-Christian is listening and, I don't know, they've listened to everything that you have said about the Japanese culture and trying to reach people for Jesus, what do you want to say to them, making the assumption that they themselves are not in Japan at this moment in time? What do you want to say to them?
Yeah, something I think is really important to say and to reiterate is that God wants to gather people to himself. He loves us, and part of sharing the gospel in Japan is the crux of it is to share about Jesus and how much he loves us, to the point that he would die so that all of the things that we've done that don't please God are wiped aside and we're made perfect. So that we can be with him and be reconciled and have that relationship with him. And yes, I may feel called to the other side of the world, but there are people down the street, right in your town, who feel the same way, who God has not sent to the other side of the world. Whoever maybe recommended you listen to this podcast, whoever may have, told you about their church before, their heart is just as much for you as mine is for Japan. Mission is not just across the world. Mission is talking to people about Jesus who are beside you, who don't yet know the love of God. And what I really want to emphasize is that there are people who love you and want you to know the love of God as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Sunday Live for the second month running. I won't have you back for a third. Don't worry, you're off the hook on the third. But thank you very much for coming to share, actually. And really, it's a tiny glimpse of what God has done over the last 4 years. But it's really lovely to have that insight of what God has been doing, how God is slowly moving and shifting the dynamic and the ground within Japan of people wanting to meet Jesus and knowing Jesus. And the fact that you are going back to a church that are growing and expanding is a testament to that, isn't it? About how God is slowly on the move in Japan. So thank you so much for joining me this evening for that. We have our Sunday Live pack. So if you are on a journey yourself, if you are at the very beginning, or maybe you're midway through, wherever you are, if this pack would help you on your journey, so whether that's just to learn a little bit more about God, to discover who he is, or maybe what he thinks of you, or the journey that God has taken his people on right from the very beginning of time, then we would love to gift you a Bible, and along with that, a 30-day practical introduction to reading the Bible, as well as an information pack about us as a church here at Broadway. We would love to gift that to you so that it can help you on your journey. I'm going to take a break from Sunday Live in September, so I will be back on October 4th on our YouTube channel, BBC IOM, at 7:30 p.m. on that evening. You can like and subscribe our channel so you can keep up to date with all the times that we are broadcasting as a church. I hope you have a wonderful summer. And I will see you again here on Sunday Live on October 4th at 7:30 p.m. Good night and God bless.